A-N-A.
All right, we're wrapping up the Third Culture Cooking Review.
Yep.
We have one recipe left to make, or one day left to make, and working on site features and stuff. And you know what? Planning another cookbook kind of got away from us.
A little
So
bit.
we thought we would, one, I mean, we've been spending a lot of time talking about fundraising lately and
Mhm.
writing some, like, I don't know, biographical content on the website. And I thought it'd be fun to do an AMA.
Yeah, we realized that people don't know that much about us,
hmm
so it might be fun to do a little Ask Me Anything.
Yeah. So a bunch of people posted in a thread on cultslave.com,
Mhm.
and we're going to be going through those a little bit out of order just for content structuring reasons.
But we're also going to make pizza
We're
while
gonna
we do that.
It's our most popular recipe. I've been working on the recipe pages for like a month now. We're adding chat. It's not there yet. It will be there by the time this comes out.
Ooh,
And I
called
think
shot.
I might be able to get forking in too.
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
hmm
So we thought we'd just spend some time in there. I've been looking at this recipe for a week. So this is mozzarella Fitzgerald, and it's a almost Detroit style sheet pan pizza.
Yep.
But before we get into that, thank you so much to our subscribers. We really
Yes.
appreciate it. We've kind of stalled out on the fundraising, but we appreciate all of you that have like put in the effort to get in there and
hmm
do it. If you haven't checked out the subscription page,
There's a whole page.
cultslave.com/subscribe, it has a bunch of details on like how we do these, what the rules are for our reviews, like where all the money goes, all that stuff. So
Goals that we'd love to
yes,
hit.
yes. Oh my God, we were kind of daydreaming in the car today about what we want to do, and like, oh,
It'll
there's
be fun.
yes. I'm very excited about like what this will eventually be.
So thank you to everybody who subscribed. Honestly, it means so much to us to
hmm
get the support and not have to do ads. We really don't ever want to do ads. That's the goal, to try and get it supported by just the community. So if you have subscribed, thank you. Again, if you haven't subscribed, cultflave.com/subscribe.
And we've got some new merch coming soon too. We're waiting on
Oh, yeah.
packaging to arrive, and we're working on a new order of the aprons in 3 new colors, 2 new colors, and
Yep.
one old color that's a bit more toned down.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's coming up. Let's get into
Let's
it.
talk about where we've been.
Yeah.
That's the future. Let's talk about our past. Oh, we're working on another recipe tonight too that we had an idea for and just haven't like executed on yet. It's a combination of esquites, which if you're familiar with elote is corn on the cob. Esquites is kind of the same thing but off the cob with like pico mixed in.
Yeah.
But we saw elote Caesar on someone's menu and we're like, that sounds like it would be better as esquites, and we're gonna play with that.
Mhm.
Just a loose, goofy
Yeah.
idea.
So we have like a loose, goofy salad and mozzarella Fitzgerald pizza.
Should be good. Do you want to get
I
the
can
dough
get the
started?
dough
And I'll
started.
ask you some questions. I'm a new subscriber and I'd love to hear more about your backgrounds/origin story. Initially, I thought you must both work in tech and do this as a side gig. I was surprised that this was, in fact, not the case. LOL. Thanks, Rothka. We're both from rural Minnesota.
We met in college.
We met in college when I was underage, and Sarah just couldn't keep her hands off me. I love to say it that way when Sarah's only 10 months older than me, but
Yeah.
that was 2008. We got married in 2011, and we've been married ever since. So in 2018, I went to work at a company, and my future coworkers told me, get a side project or you're gonna lose your mind, because I was known for liking to do like really, I don't know, artistic's the wrong word, but like very aggressively creative projects, like weird, unique stuff, rather than very practical beige, the stuff that like a lot of designers and tech do. And they're like, you need a side project. So I started working on it in 2018. 2019, we launched the first video, which we may have, I think it's still up on our YouTube channel, just private. Maybe it's not private. It's really cringy.
It's really bad.
It was about the science of gluten.
Mhm.
And then we did another one about the science of ice cream. And then Sarah did her first video. She like had never.
I had no interest in being on camera. I wanted to do the production side of things because my background is somebody who worked on podcasting. I
Mhm.
ran a podcast network for like 5 years before
As like an editor producer.
transitioning into this. So when we started doing this, I was like, oh, I'll just be like back here behind the camera helping you like hit your marks and like get the words right. And I don't want to be on camera at all. So I
But I had no experience really with baking
yeah,
or
right.
pastry specifically. So when it came to that, I was like, well, Sarah should obviously be the one doing it. And from there, I don't know. It seemed like you kind of got into it.
Yeah, slowly. It took me a while to get used to it because I'm definitely not an on camera. I don't view myself as like an on camera personality, but I think that's just because I don't have the same type of delivery as like a lot of people online have. Like I'm a little more subdued. I don't get overly excited about stuff.
Mm.
Wow, I'm going real slow on this. Hold on.
You've always liked to be behind the scenes more than in front of the camera, and I
I
think
think I still prefer to be behind the scenes instead of in
I
front of the camera, but I am getting better at being comfortable in front of the
I
camera.
think that's true. I think a few people have like caught on to that, and they like are like, well, it seems like she doesn't want to be here.
I know. I when I first started doing videos, especially on TikTok, a lot of people are like, "Is she okay?" She doesn't seem like she wants to be there at all. And like truly it was just because it was a lot of anxiety for me to be on camera.
You're camera shy.
Yeah, I just don't I'm the type of person that doesn't like that kind of attention. Um and so putting myself out there like that is like a huge outside of my this is a huge outside of my comfort zone experience for me. And like getting used to enjoying that, finding the joy in that has been a journey.
Mm.
But a fun one. I'm actually enjoying it now.
So that version was called Kitchenomicon. And then we started, we were like, this isn't really taking off. Let's see if we can do something else. And we did sneaker drops for condiments,
Oh yeah,
was
that
the
was
premise.
fun.
That was called Cult Favorite because it was meant to be small batches and like very, I don't know, intense versions of ketchup, mustard, hot sauces. We did a Japanese curry collection.
Mhm.
We did a barbecue sauce collection. Those did okay, but it was so much work. And I never want to do that again.
Anybody who makes their own like hot sauces or mustards or ketchups at a commercial level,
Without co-packing.
without co-packing, I tip my hat to you because it's extremely difficult
It's so hard.
to get
Um,
started, to market, to do the whole thing. But it was a really fun project.
mhm. And then, so we were calling that Cult Favorite or Cult Fave for short.
Mhm.
And we couldn't get decent like SEO for it. And I made the joke that we should just call it Cult Flavorite. And Sarah's like, well done.
Yeah.
Get that, register that domain. And so that's how we got to here.
Yep.
And everyone still calls it Cult Flav.
Yep.
We were building this channel right before the pandemic. And then we moved out to Napa 9 days before quarantine shut everything down. And then we found out that the house we just moved into didn't have internet. We didn't even think to ask because we're like, of course you can get internet anywhere, especially in like, this was in Napa, California. Like, it's a well established place with lots of money.
It's 2023.
This
No,
shouldn't be
2021,
2020.
2020.
This shouldn't be an issue, right? We're so close to the Bay Area, and the specific spot we were at was in a geological depression, so we could not get internet, which meant we used LTE for 2 years.
Yeah. That was
But
also the year that I had chickens, which
Mhm.
was really fun.
uploading videos was very challenging there for obvious reasons. So I started a little video startup with a friend, and that's how we kind of got through the pandemic.
Mhm.
But that made it so I didn't have as much time to cook. I had been cooking 90% of our meals for years. And then, of course, like going to the pandemic, it was 100%. And then I became really busy.
Yeah, working on a startup. Brendan used to make all the meals, and then around that time, when he wasn't making meals as much, I was like, I don't want to eat at like 10 or 10:30 anymore. I'm getting so sick of it. So I'm just going to teach myself how to cook. I was a podcast producer, but we were also figuring out how to like shut it down when I was working there. And so I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I was like, well, I'm just going to teach myself how to cook. And so I picked up a cookbook because Bryn bought a ton of cookbooks.
I've been collecting them for years.
So I picked up one of the cookbooks and I was like, I'm just going to cook out of this for like a week so that I can learn the basics of, I think it was Invitation to Indian Cooking was the first one that I
Hmm.
picked up by Madhur Jaffrey. And I was like, I'm just going to teach myself how to make Indian food, and Madhur Jaffrey is going to teach me how to do it. And did it for a whole week, like planned everything for the whole full week.
And then you posted the videos on the platform I was building.
And then, yeah, I was like, well, I want to, I want to also be creative. So
Mhm.
I was posting videos of me making this stuff, and maybe more for like me to keep track of what I was learning than anybody else because there wasn't anybody really using his platform.
Wow, roast me. No, we had just launched it. It was like literally in private beta. No one had access to it.
Those,
Along is what it was called.
yeah, we posted them on Along, and then eventually I started posting them on TikTok,
Yep.
just for fun,
Hmm.
because I was like, well, I mean, videos don't really go anywhere on TikTok anyway, and it's so saturated. I'm sure I won't get anywhere with it. And then
That was 2022, I think, that you started doing TikTok.
20, I think I did it around 2023. we moved
2023, we
here.
were already here.
Yeah, when we moved here, that's when I started doing
Okay.
TikToks. We were in LA. I wasn't really finding any work, so I was like, "Hey, can you give me a year to work on this project and see if we can like actually take this off somewhere? I think we might have something if I can figure out the storyline for these cookbook reviews because they were really bad. If you go back in our catalog, they're not very good. But I was like, I feel like I can figure it out. So Bryn was kind enough to give me a year to work on this.
Listen, it wasn't just you wanting to do it either. Like since 2019, we are like, oh, this is like a thing that we could do
Yeah.
long term, like and really enjoy.
Yeah. But I did that for about a year and then it wasn't really going anywhere. And at the 11th month, I was like, all right, I have to start looking for a job because this hasn't done anything. And then
The last one took off.
the very last one that I was Molly Boz's Cook This Book. I was like,
Mhm.
this is the last one before I shut it down. And we try something else. And it took off. And then from there, we started doing more cookware reviews and changing it up a little bit to have Bryn more involved. So it wasn't so much like him. It wasn't really feeling like he was critiquing me
A lot of people
as
thought I
much.
was criticizing Sarah specifically rather than the recipe itself, which I knew she had like followed specifically.
Yeah.
But like we lean over each other a lot when we're cooking in real life. If I'm cooking pastry and Sarah knows that better, then she's gonna be leaning over my shoulder, like working through it with me most of the time. Like if you watch the Sift review, like she's over my shoulder, like, oh, this is what I would look for or whatever. But when we're doing savory, people get mad when I'm over your shoulder all the time. He's so overbearing. It's like, all right, it's called teamwork.
I would argue that I'm still learning how to cook because I didn't cook before the
Mhm.
pandemic, really, ever. So I'm still learning, but it's fun. I actually enjoy it now, which is incredible for me to say because
Mhm.
I did not enjoy cooking in the past. Okay, this has to sit. Do we put it on proof?
We can put it on proof, but we'll need to seal it with plastic instead of a towel.
Okay, let's do that.
Do you want to chuck that in?
Yeah, let's chuck it in the proofer, see how that works out. I haven't done this before, so we'll see how that goes.
We'll be back when that's done proofing. And before our break, I forgot to mention that at one point we actually did a collection of clothing called Sunday
Oh,
Finest,
yeah.
which is this stuff, which I am reminded of. It was with a bunch of artist friends, and this one was by our friend Ben.
Okay, I think we're proofed.
Well, it's risen a little bit,
Yeah.
gently proofed.
We're gonna see how this does. I don't remember it looking like this exactly the last time I did this, but
Yeah.
we're gonna try it. It could be because I was distracted.
You didn't make it rise manually?
I should probably ask you, Bryn. We talked a little bit about how I got into cooking, but how did you get into cooking?
So when I was a kid, we spent a lot of time at my grandma's house.
It's very fluffy.
And like the thing that I liked most was making cookies and noodles with my grandma. So that became it. And then my parents were never really great cooks. My dad was pretty good at like smoking,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, we were like gonna eat packaged foods. And so I wanted to learn how it worked and got really into it. And then again, I don't know. I was pretty active. Like I was cooking a few days a week at home through high school. I was homeschooled, so I was at home a lot for a lot of the time. After I moved out, which was, I don't know, shortly after we started dating, maybe like a year and a half, I dropped out of school, which meant I had to move out of my parents' house. And then I was cooking for myself from then on.
Oh, I forgot to do the olive oil over the paper. Here, we can do this like
I got
this.
you. Also, in theory, oh, it's only for the browning, right?
Yeah. Man, it is really hard to like answer questions
Yeah.
and also cook at the same
Yeah.
time. Now we have to stretch it as far as it'll go without pulling back on us. We're probably going to need to let it rest a few times, but I think we still have the proofer on, so we might be able to like,
Oh, so it can relax?
yeah. Okay, I think that's about as much as
I've
mine's
never
going to
made this.
go. What did you do yours?
What do you mean? Why are you being mean to me?
What do I say here? Cover again and let it rest for another 30 minutes. Cool.
All right. That's going to relax for a little bit, maybe develop a little more. In the meantime, this sauce is really simple. I remember working on this part in particular, which our friends at Nona Rosa's Pizza here in LA use something very similar to for their pizza. So it's literally just tomatoes with garlic grated into it. I like to use canned whole tomatoes for pretty much everything. Forget how the skin opener works. I tried both ways that were not it. But then we literally just squish it with our hands so that there's some texture left. This is the riskiest part to be doing without an apron, but you know, it just wasn't feeling like an apron day. And also, when I wear shorts under it, I don't know. I don't like the aesthetic of it.
Here's a good question for you, Bryn.
Hmm.
Hey, you mentioned in one of your TikToks once that you had both worked in restaurants before.
Mm.
As a professional chef, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your experience there and what you think about the restaurant industry in general. That's from Zachary Gregg. Thanks for the
Uh,
question, Zachary.
yeah, thank you. So I worked back of house as a line cook at a bar and grill for a while I was I'd gotten into culinary school. Was it after we got married or before we got married that I decided to go to culinary school?
I think that was after.
Okay. So we got prepped. I'd gotten into culinary school at the CIA, and the one requirement was 6 months of working in kitchens. So I actually had been working in IT at the time. And so I basically was working two jobs for a while, working as a line cook at a local bar and grill. And I don't know, I realized it kind of wasn't for me, but also at the same time, someone at the company I was working at saw that I was like designing stuff as I was working on computers. And so I got offered a job to work in design. So I went into that instead because it paid me money and I didn't have to pay for culinary school. Where did
My very first job in high school was at Subway.
sandwich artist?
So I was a sandwich artist at Subway at 15, I think, was when I got my first job. And I did that for, I think, 5 months. And then I got really grossed out by the canned ham.
I thought you said turkey.
It was either ham or turkey. I think everything came in like a bag that you had to like rip off.
Got it. It had the grain
It was
impressed on it.
pretty rough. Yeah. I think I just couldn't handle that. Got back into it when I was in college. I was a server at Buffalo Wild Wings
Mhm.
for a while, which I actually really enjoyed that job. But then I broke my hand on the shift, and I ended up quitting shortly after because I don't know
The way they handled it sucked.
the way they handled it sucked. The manager stuck around, and he kind of like had it out for me after that for some reason. So I was like, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. And then again, in when we lived in San Francisco, I was having a hard time finding work as I think I was trying to get into marketing.
We haven't really talked about that. I went and worked in design for a little bit and then got hired out to San Francisco and then
All right.
yeah, filling in the
Um,
blanks. That's all.
yeah. I couldn't find work, so I ended up applying to a patisserie in San Francisco called Bee Patisserie, which is excellent. The back of house scared the shit out of me because the bakers in the back moved so fast, and it was the machines were so big. I was really intimidated by them, but I was really interested in learning how to talk about food and the words that were the most interesting to people. So I was always fascinated by the fact that, like, if you use the word butter, people won't buy a croissant as much, or they won't be as interested to buy a croissant. But if you say like light and airy and flaky and like buttery,
The effects of butter.
yeah, more people are interested in. I don't know. That part of it really fascinated me, like how words can really define how people feel about food.
Mhm.
So I did that for a while.
And then
And I really wish that it would have paid more because I probably would have stayed in that job longer. But
yeah, we started a podcast in the design space that took off, and then we decided that we were going to start an actual like network around it, and that became your
well,
thing pretty quickly.
yeah. But okay. So then thoughts around the restaurant industry. I think definitely tip your servers. 100% tip your servers.
Yeah.
That's where they make the most money. They're on their feet for so many hours dealing with so many different types of people. It kind of sucks the life out of you. It can be fun, but most of the time it's not very fun. And yeah, so be nice to your servers.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't know like, helped us decide whether or not to go to culinary school, which I mean, you weren't going to go to the school, but you were going to come with me, and that was going to be its whole thing. Was that like we knew that the schedules are terrible and divorce rates are very high in restaurants, whatever. And like I said,
Treatment is terrible.
yeah.
Like, so state of the restaurant industry right now, I just think that people aren't getting paid enough to do the work. If the margins were better in restaurants, I think it would be a much better situation.
It'd be
But
healthier, right?
it'd be more healthy. But I think because the margins are so thin, everybody's stressed out all the time. You got to really love it. I think if you're into restaurants, you do it because you love it.
The other side is like the way that like the bear and like other content really praises restaurants and chefs right now is I don't know. I have some problems with the hero worship aspects of it. Anyone who's worked with chefs knows that most of them are not what people envision with it, which is often going to be fine dining spaces and like the things that people choose to hero worship don't really fit with how the industry actually works, where it's a lot of burnouts and it's usually like one man bands in the back of a kitchen or whatever you want to call it. Most restaurants don't have a big staff, period, or they have as small as they can afford, generally speaking. And I don't think that people's view of chefs aligns with what the reality is. And so the fact that people are like, oh, chef, oh my God, it stresses me out. And like it's a manager in many cases. I'd rather see cooks get some more of that, but I know I'm coming from that perspective anyway.
Here's a good one. What are your favorite kitchen memories from childhood, if you have any?
Mm.
Food is really tied to culture and family for me, so wondering what you guys have nostalgia for. And I guess similarly, what's the first thing you remember ever cooking, baking, making, and how do you guys balance cooking with going out to restaurants? Love to cook, but also love checking out new places in the neighborhood. Barb. Thanks, Barb.
We almost never go to restaurants. Actually, Josh Shearer from Mythical Kitchen used the phrase post restaurant, and more that clicks with me. There's every once in a while there's like something special that stands out. They're like we have to go to that, but in general, we'd rather just cook for ourselves.
Okay, now answer the first question. What are your favorite kitchen memories from childhood, if you have any?
The only one I can think of is like telling jokes with my family in the kitchen, like making fun of each other. And one time, I made my dad choke on a pancake because he was laughing so hard, and that one, like I had to go give him the Heimlich maneuver. That kind of thing is what I liked doing in the kitchen. It wasn't so much like cooking together or anything like that. What about you?
Like I said, I didn't really like being in the kitchen when I was a kid, but I did like stealing stuff from my mom while she was cooking. And to be fair,
Oh, you were snitching?
yeah, my mom wasn't like the best cook, but like she would make spritz cookies every winter. And one of the things she always said to me was like, "Now, this dough has to stay in the fridge. You are not allowed to touch it." So one of my favorite things to do was to try and figure out how to snitch some of some of that cookie dough while she wasn't paying attention. And she would usually end up finding like finger marks where I would like have scooped cookie dough out of it, or like I was really into frosting when I was a kid too. And so anytime my mom made some sort of cupcake or something, I would like stick my fingers in the frosting. It'd just be like marks.
Did you have a first recipe that you remember?
So I didn't start cooking until I was older. The very first thing that I remember being interested in trying to make were sugar cookies.
Mm.
I don't know why, but for some reason I was like, I have not been able to find a good sugar cookies that I actually enjoy eating. And so I was determined to like make a sugar cookie that I actually liked.
It's a good reason to do it.
Yeah. And I didn't write it down. I don't remember it at all. I remember figuring it out and then making it constantly. And I have no idea what it is anymore. What
My
about you?
first
What was
one
the first?
was my grandma's coffee cake.
Oh yeah, your grandma's coffee cake.
That was the first thing I ever got to make by myself alone, I should say. Like I definitely like helped my grandma and my great grandma make cookies or like cinnamon twists or whatever. Those were the things that they usually let me in on because it was like, okay, you can get your hands in here and like it's not gonna hurt anything, that kind of thing. I would get to put like the stars on like the peanut butter cookies with
Oh, cute,
chocolate stars on them, stuff
cute.
like that. So I've been doing that since I was like younger, but the first thing I remember cooking by myself was coffee cake. And I remember calling my grandma to like ask her questions about the recipe when I made it at home because I was like trying to show my parents how proud I was of it. And I got like baking soda and baking powder mixed up, and I was like, "Hey, I put a tablespoon in, and it was supposed to be like a quarter cup. How many tablespoons is in a quarter cup?" And she's like, "I don't fucking know."
Time to try and stretch this dough a little more.
What are some of Fry's silliest moments / quirks?
One of my favorite things that he does is I mean, you don't like this as much, but he howls at sirens when they go by.
It doesn't bother me that much.
And
I
I think
make him
it's so
howl.
stinking cute when he does it. Because like he can't help himself. He like has to get it out of his body. So whenever he does it, I'm like, get it all out, bud. Let him know you're here.
And it's so funny when we'll howl at each other and he'll like get in on it.
Yeah.
So
He's got to
funny.
join in on the chorus.
He gets so excited. His tail automatically wags itself, it looks like. It just starts going.
Anytime he eats, he has this ritual where he'll like rub his face on the ground, or especially on the couch. He'll jump on the couch and rub his face on the couch Oh, he also will like slide off of a couch and keep his back legs up on the couch until the very end. He does it all the time.
Yeah.
And he's done it since he was a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're stretched.
So we can do the par bake?
Yeah, we can do the par bake now, I think. Okay, well, this is going to be a minute because we have to get it up to 500.
Yep.
You made the sauce.
Yep. Cheese is already grated. This is just frozen fire roasted corn because I wanted that kind of grilly vibe. But we'll see how it works. Throw it on the pizza steel for a little bit at 500. I think that's going to evaporate off a lot of water content and leave us with something workable. Cut some lemon. And prep some toppings.
Here's one by Combinator.
Oh, Combinator. Nice.
Yeah. Most recent non-cookbook read. Favorite video game of the last 12
Can we
months.
do one at a time?
And all time. Favorite meal the other person makes. Well, thanks, Combinator, for the question.
Yeah, thanks, Combi.
Most recent non-cookbook read.
My most recent one is the one I talked about last week, the American cuisine and how it got this way or whatever. Something like that. I don't remember if that's what it's actually called. But the last one that I liked, because I want to like give a good recommendation, was The Editor, which is the biography of Judith Jones, who's a hero of mine. Massively changed culture through not only publishing things like, well, she didn't directly publish it, but she's responsible for saving the Diary of Anne Frank from getting lost in the US. It was not going to be published here, and she saved it. And then some big books of poetry. And then for us, the most relevant, Julia Child's cookbook, Mater Joffrey, Claudia Roden, some incredible cookbook work. And so I just read that, and it was great. I like knew about her work. I had no idea about her personal life and all that stuff, which I thought was very fascinating. And like seeing how she looked at it, it's very frustrating looking at the cookbook industry after seeing like how much she was like trying to like just put out the best shit, and it doesn't feel like it is that way right now. I'm sure there's a lot of people working very hard, but it does feel a little bit like, okay, we're just gonna go with what's safe. We're not gonna like try anything, which is frustrating. But
Yeah.
that was cool. She really took a chance on Julia Child, and then developed her own style, which I thought was cool.
Favorite video game of the last 12 months and all time.
Blueprints, incredible. Balattro's up there too, but Blueprints definitely. And then all time, my answer's pretty much always been Chrono Trigger. The one I like, the old game I play the most, which may be better, is Pokemon Fire Red, which is a remake of the original Pokemon Red, which came out when I was like 7 or 8. I was like the perfect age for it. I got super into Pokemon as a kid, and my little brother and I shared a Game Boy Color. And so like I have very fond memories of like passing it back and forth in the car.
And then favorite meal the other person makes. And this one we might need to amend because I don't make a lot of like meals that are my own, except for this mozzarella Fitzgerald recipe. This is my own
Favorite dish?
favorite dish.
Peanut butter cookies. It's like the first recipe you ever wrote, but they're perfect.
I know.
Like
I really worked my butt
I
off.
ate 200 of those during our stand mixer review by myself.
Uh-huh.
They are my favorite thing in the world. I gained like 10 pounds just eating those cookies because my office has our chest freezer in it. It's that lab that you saw in the stand mixer review. So I'm just like right there where they were like in the freezer, and I was just like, all right, every 10 minutes,
Is it
here's a
sweet treat?
cookie.
It's time for a sweet treat.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn. Most recent non-cookbook read. I have two. The Will of the Many. I don't remember the author's name. It's like a sci-fi fantasy book that I think is really interesting because it's like a little political. It's like putting power into like one individual versus like spreading it across everybody.
But it's like magic.
Yeah, it's like magic. Using your will to like empower one individual. I think you'd be into it. And then the other non-cookbook book that I read that I was just like, this is incredible, it's so good, is a little smutty. It's called The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. It's the first of 2 books. The second one's coming out in August, but I loved it. It's so well written. It moves. The pace is nice. Like the main female lead isn't as annoying as some of them can be. I had a really good time with it. I'm very excited for the second book to come out. Favorite video game of the last 12 months and all time. I think my favorite video game of the last 12 months was Blueprints.
We played through it together, which was really fun. We would switch off each day, and then the other person would like take notes.
Mhm.
It was really fun.
Favorite video game of all time? I don't know if this one counts, but I always get excited when somebody has Duck Hunter.
Duck
Do you
Hunt
remember that one? The one with
on
like,
the NES.
yeah. Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
Either that or Killer Queen.
Killer Queen. Okay, I could see that.
Those are the two that I get like really outrageously excited for.
We were
So
at
I
a
think
game
those are my
festival.
all-time
We were at a
favorites.
game festival one time, and I was looking for Sarah. It took me a while to find her, and it turns out she was just destroying people at Killer Queen on an arcade machine. And one of those people was Brian David Gilbert, who you may know from Dropout
Yeah.
and Polygon and all that stuff. That was fun.
I think I scared him because I was like so excited and so overly animated.
Sarah's like,
I
yeah,
kept being
eat
like,
it.
suck it, Brian. Yeah, I get a little competitive. And favorite meal that the other person makes. There's this place in Sebastopol called Fern Bar. And we went there one time and had a green curry trout. And I thought it was so stinking good that I was like, Bryn, you need to learn how to make this. And he did. And we have a recipe for it on our website. But I think that's my favorite thing that Bryn will make.
I think I modified one
That
thing.
and grilled cheese and tomato soup.
We did
Right up there.
fried mushrooms with it.
Yeah,
Which they
fried
didn't
mushrooms
do.
are really good.
We had just tried a recipe that had fried mushrooms as like a fried chicken replacement on a sandwich, and I was just very into frying my take mushrooms at that point, so we added that in. But yeah, that was one of the first dishes I made for you here at this house because Sarah got sick right after we moved, and so I just made her that as comfort food, and I think that's kind of it's not one we make often, but it feels special. I learned how to make like real Thai curry just for that. Thai curry
Oh,
paste.
so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question. This one's from Eden. Would love to know if you like to cook with music on, and if so, what's that look like? Do you have a go-to for listening while in the kitchen? And beyond food, what are other things you guys are passionate about / have hobbies around?
Interesting. We almost never listen to music in the kitchen. Like
Yeah.
we're so focused on what we're doing, it like doesn't factor in. We'll have TV on the background, but that's usually for the other person.
TV is my usual go-to if I'm making something, especially if I'm baking. For some reason, I need to have a rom-com on in the background. And it's got to be something that I've seen like a million times.
Oh yeah, something you can ignore.
Yeah.
But it's just like to keep your mind going.
Right. I went through a phase where it was like 13 going on 30 was like my go-to for baking. I go through phases, so I'll just like watch the same thing, or like sometimes I'll throw New Girl on in the background because I know what's going to happen. And it's like it's also one of those shows that you don't really need to pay attention to because you can hear it and kind of know what's going on. I think comedy, like anything where if you're listening to it and you can hear the joke without having to like actively be watching it, is much easier to work to.
I remember when we were doing Thanksgiving stuff and I was doing a lot of prep. If I know what I'm doing and I don't really need to focus on it, I'm just kind of on autopilot, then I'll watch stuff for sure. Drive to Survive is my favorite. Just turn on and like I want something I can switch which thing I'm focusing on comfortably, and that's definitely one that is up there for me. If we have people over and we're cooking, then we'll turn on music.
Totally.
But that's more for like vibe setting rather than like our enjoyment.
We try to do a lot of chill stuff for folks, but sometimes we'll throw on like Wu-Tang or
Tyler the Creator, Kendrick
Lamar. It kind of depends on the vibe that we want.
Yeah.
The space.
Who's coming over? What are they into? But for the most part, it's going to be hip hop of some kind. Fry buddy. Hip-hop. Good boy.
Beyond food, what are other things you guys are passionate about / have hobbies around? Great question.
All my hobbies, for the most part, fit into Cult Flave. Like, I do genuinely enjoy designing and coding, and so getting to do that all day long is like the best thing in the world for me.
Yeah, building the website.
If I'm not going to be cooking, getting to build is like awesome. Other than that, snowboarding and motorcycling are the only two that stand out to me. Video games.
Yeah, video games.
But that's more of a like us thing usually together. What about you?
Since I was a kid, I've really liked reading. So I spend a lot of time just reading books, mostly fairy smut, because I read my porn like a lady. I have always enjoyed being outside with dogs. So I will go on long walks with Fry, trying to get him into like hiking more. He has very low tolerance for the heat. So getting him to hike long distance. Oh, and distance in general. He doesn't do long distance stuff.
He's really a sprinter, not a marathon runner.
Yeah. So I really got used to with my last dog running for like longer distances because she could do it. but he can't. So it's a lot of like, all right, we're just going to go on walks and he's going to pick the pace and we're just going to vibe. But trying to get him more into hiking has been fun. Roasting coffee is something that I try to do when I can. I've been nervous to do it recently because of the fires, and it's not fire season yet, but it's gonna be fire season soon.
It creates a lot of smoke.
And I feel like anytime people see like the amount of smoke that comes out of our garage when I do it is like might scare people a little bit. So I've been holding off on doing a lot of that, but I really enjoy roasting my own coffee beans when I can.
Do you speak other languages? If not, I appreciate how hard you both try to pronounce things right, specifically Spanish, which is my first language. How did you end up in LA? I think you've mentioned you're both from Minnesota.
Oh, thanks, Alejandro, or Food for Diaz.
Yep. I think that's a pun on food for like
days?
food for days. Yeah.
Do you speak other languages? I wish. I'm really bad at learning languages. Specifically, French is really hard for me because I can't do the like throat thing.
It's really funny.
I can't do it very well.
Like the R sound that's in the back of your throat.
I can't do it. But thank you. We try really hard. We do a lot of research beforehand to make sure that we're getting as close to the word as we can.
My mom's best friend when I was a little kid taught Spanish. So I took Spanish lessons from an early age. And then we spent a lot of time in Mexico when I was a kid. My mom lives there now, but I haven't actively kept up with my Spanish at all. And I rarely use it. So I really don't remember many words. But we were all like big like language kids, like spelling, writing, reading.
Kids.
My nickname in 4th grade was spell check because I would correct my teacher's spelling. They put a limit on how many book reports I could do because I was doing one a day. And they're like, no, one a week. Like I was really into consuming things. And my mom often spoke French. Her family is Acadian, like French Canadian. So she like wasn't actively speaking French frequently, but she'd always like, I don't know, when she spoke it very specifically. And so I kind of learned the accent from her, but also like I do it kind of cornily on purpose. I took French in 7th and 8th grade, and then I bailed on it entirely. But whenever we travel, I'll try and learn like a good amount. So I learned a little bit of Japanese, mostly for food stuff. Learned a little bit of Italian when we went to Italy. I enjoy learning languages. I know a little Korean from watching Korean YouTube. I've talked about that before, but I wouldn't say I'm like good at any of them. I try and do like just enough, especially if I'm like going to be shopping for products from a certain language. I'll try and like learn it. So it's mostly food words. It's like grocery shopping stuff. I'm just an earnest tryhard and I want to do my best.
You're a real keener, Bryn.
I am a keener.
Okay, how did you end up in LA? I think you've mentioned you're both from Minnesota. We are both from Minnesota.
Yeah. That video platform I made along, I had raised money for it and my investors wanted me to be closer to creators. And so we moved down here. I'd been resisting LA for a long time. Yeah, we had to come down here, and so we did.
They say if you're moving to LA, you're either going to love it or hate it, but you have to give it 2 years to find out. I think a lot of people are like me where they're like, I do not like LA that much, but as I've been here longer, I think we're going on about 3 years here.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get used to it. I'm starting to understand how it works. Yeah, that's how we ended up here.
So we did rural Minnesota to Minneapolis.
Yep.
Then I got hired out to San Francisco, spent like a decade there, a little time in Napa as part of that, and then down here.
These are gonna par bake for I think 15 minutes.
I'm gonna stick this in underneath.
The key here is just until it starts to get like golden brown around the edges. We just want that to get like slightly cooked, and then we'll add the cheese. The cheese is on the bottom.
Do you have any interest in doing a tattoo tour?
I can, but I have to take off my sweatshirt. Okay. Oldest tattoo I have is on my neck. It's back here. It's for my grandparents, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it. I got it when I was 18, so it looks really bad now.
I was there.
Because it's like spread out and kind of gross, but I was really proud of it when I got it. I still kind of like it. And then I have my sleeve. They're all dogs that I've owned because dogs are really important to me. So this is my first dog. His name was Bear, so I got a bear. He sat goofy, so that's why it's sitting like that. Then I've got a deer. This is for one of my dogs, and his nickname was Bambi.
He would like jump through a field.
Yeah.
That was our first dog together.
But I got a deer for him. And then the dog prior to Fry, her name was Roxy. She looked like a fox. Everybody that saw her was like, she looks like a fox. So then I got a fox on my arm for her. And then this little guy is a badger, and that's for Fry.
When we first got him as a puppy, we were like, he definitely looks like a badger.
Yeah.
gonna, yeah. So that's why his name is Fry. It's short for Friar Tuck. Most famous badger we could think of.
Yeah. And this was not done well the first time that I did it. So I went back like 6 times to get it touched up.
Anyone who's had hand tattoos know that they fucking suck.
Yeah. And anyway, the artist that helped me fix this tattoo, I was like, well, I don't want you to just do this. So then I asked her to put another tattoo on me as kind of like a thank you for helping me fix this.
So it wasn't just like a small amount of work.
Yeah. So I have a fox skull on my arm. And
Sarah's real soul like
This is-
mate was Roxy.
yeah, this is all you're gonna see of this one. Sorry, my
you don't
leg
want
is
you don't want to show your
so
chicken?
dry. Oh yeah, I guess show my chicken, I guess.
It goes all the way from her foot all the way up to like her stomach.
So then I've got this one back here, and it's all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a no show from an artist. They were gonna make it into a sleeve, but I saw it online and they said it's up for grabs. So I chimed in on Instagram and I was like, "Hey, what do you think about putting that on a leg?" How about you? Tattoo tour.
I have one of my original tattoos left, which I got with Sarah. It looks ugly. I'm not
Get
going to
up
show it
there.
anyway.
Get up there.
It's emo lyrics in Sarah's handwriting from when I was 18, I think.
Yeah.
The rest of them that I got are covered up now. So I used to have a star with a bass clef here that's now covered up by that, but you can kind of see the shape of it. There was a treble clef one here. There were stars around the other sides. Those are all kind of covered up now. I've got my wedding ring tattooed, and I got this plane with my little brother when he went into the Air Force.
So cute.
My grandpa was in the Air Force as well. He worked on planes, and he was a technical sergeant. And then he was like a crew chief at Northwest Airlines. So we were always into airplanes as kids. And so my brother went into the Air Force. I got these scissors with my friends Kathy and Jem at a conference, the same one that Sarah beat BDG at, like that same time. We just went and did walk-in tattoos, which took like 6 hours. But we all just got something individual. I got the boning shears I use for breaking up chickens. Next is probably this one,
Probably, yeah.
which I gave my now artist. She did both this piece and this piece. This one's almost done. I was looking for a cover up. She was doing black work with white over it, which you can kind of see. It's very visible to me, but I have no idea if it's going to show up on camera. I asked for Ghosts in a Garden, inspired by a painting my friend gave me. This is what we came up with. So this whole sleeve is going to be different iterations of ghosts. I actually have one on my leg as well, but it's meant to be like just ghosts all the way down. One of the reasons I like it is every artist has a different like interpretation of what a ghost should look like. So here I've got some that are like really cutesy, and then this is kind of like what it would look like if it was under a sheet or whatever, like the traditional style, but also they're kind of just like, some are like negative, some are positive. Like it's interesting to see how they altern out. And then Natalie Tattoos, who is one of my favorites, gave me a little piece of flash, some pieces by Heavy Cream. So this is the Yuki Onna, which is a Japanese myth from a place where we go, or where we've gone snowboarding in Japan. I'd love to go again. It's in Nagano. And there's a Pokemon called Frostlass that is the same myth, and so he did it in the same pose. He did pixel art Pokemon, and so I was like, well, hell yeah. While I was getting this piece done, this artist, Storm is their name, was working on the same studio, and we hit it off. They were asking, like, they had just started working in a Suminagashi style, which is based on like a Japanese ink on water painting technique. And this is the style that they developed. These two had always wanted to work together, so I just got this piece done. It sucks because it all falls out. Like, I love the piece, let me get that straight. But it sucks having it done because it's extremely painful on the ends of the fingers, and then it falls out really fast. So this is the second pass. I probably won't go in for another one. Who knows? Maybe I'll regret that later. But also Storm is amazing, and I love spending time with them. This piece is Ashes, the artist from this piece. So it's Ashes and Storm. Ashes did this piece. I said biblically accurate lime leaves, which just basically meant they do a lot of eyeballs. I wanted some eyeballs. And so it's another variation on Suminagashi that's coming up my arms from the stem of the plant. And anytime the Suminagashi crosses the leaves, there's an eyeball there. So kind of like a, I don't know. This trope is really common in video games with like Zelda and stuff, like the Dark World kind of thing. So like I want it to be just weird whenever it crossed. And so eyeballs it is. And then I have a snowboarding ghost from a Korean artist I like named Shinamon, who does like these cute little ghosts.
That's my favorite.
It looks like a condom.
It's so cute.
Yeah, I think it's very funny. I tore something in my knee, and I saw this at the same time, and I was like, ha, it's like the death of my snowboarding career. But I just like collecting pieces of art from artists I really like. I don't really care if they go together. I really just want like, I don't know, I like the canvas view of tattoos where it's just like, okay, here's a prompt. That's the one piece of cohesion. Now go do whatever. The only one that's not a ghost is this one, but it kind of fit with the theme anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. I've got a few more pieces planned, but I'm not going to go about them for a while now. Sarah, how do you guys decide what recipes to pick for a review? From Danny.
Ooh. Usually the first rule is try to hit as many of the sections of the book as we can and try to hit different types of proteins if we can. We're not huge dessert people, but we're starting to become more dessert people
Mhm.
as we try new things.
And especially as we drink less and less. Like we've just
Yeah.
not been enjoying drinking. I'm having non-alcoholic beer, just like we feel bad afterwards. We're
Yeah.
getting too old for
I
it.
think we're just getting too old. The
Yeah.
hangovers suck more.
Mhm. So
They happen faster too. It's just not worth it. That's really how we do it. Yeah. And then everything else is kind of based on what we have not as much experience in, or if there's some
mm,
interesting like flavor combinations
yeah.
that they're using that we want to try out.
Mhm.
Or if they have a different technique for cooking than what we would traditionally do, we'll usually say like that. I've never seen that before. I need to know if it works
We'll try and squeeze that
in
in.
reality.
Yeah. The most important thing is, are we excited about the recipes? But we'll try
Right.
and make all these things accommodate that. Sarah Raphael asks, what was your most memorable recipe / cooking fail, and what did you learn from it?
Oh God. I think hands down my most memorable cooking fail was when I set my kitchen on fire when I was in high school. I was trying to teach myself how to make donuts. Yeah, so I was an idiot and didn't do a lot of research on making donuts before I tried it. And I used a too small pot and too much oil and let that oil heat way too long. And then it lit on fire. And I, like a dummy, was like, "Oh, fire, water. You put the water on the fire goes out." As I was pouring it on the fire, there was this small voice in the back of my head that was like, "This is not how you deal with oil and fire." And then, of course, by then it was too late, and it kind of exploded in my face. And there was this huge fireball that went over my head, and I basically ruined my parents' entire kitchen. Luckily, my dad had just redone all the cabinetry, and so it was. Uh, we still had like pretty decent insurance on it.
I think he insured it because he did that.
So got everything replaced. The one thing I learned from that experience is if you start a fire, you don't want to touch it. You don't want to tamper with it. Like an idiot, I tried to clean it up, and it's really hard for the insurance adjusters to know how much damage there is if you try to clean it. So don't touch it after it happens.
Mhm.
That was my biggest learning. And also really scared me um, out of the kitchen for a while.
And especially about deep frying for a long
Yeah.
time.
For a long time, I refused to deep fry anything. I didn't want to be anywhere near it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the downside of being stubborn and not like wanting people to tell you what to do. It's like sometimes you learn the hard way.
Yeah. No one has ever been able to make Sarah do literally anything she didn't want to do. Very stubborn. And I love that about her.
Very self motivated, but
Yeah. I would not get anything done without Sarah, I think. Yeah, that's not entirely true,
yeah,
but
I
like
don't
anything I
think so.
don't want to do,
Yeah.
I'm really bad at that.
Super
If I want to do
self-motivated.
something, I will not stop. But if I don't, I'll never start.
Okay.
My worst mistake, I think, was there was this time that my brother-in-law's family joined our family for Christmas. We had like 20 something people,
Oh, I remember that.
and I tried making ossobuco with individual pork shanks for everyone. So I was trying to find as many pans as I could. I basically just couldn't get the heat I needed to through it. So like everything was cooked, but like so tough,
Hmm.
not good. It was just a mistake, but it's more like don't try and have 20 people and like cook it yourself. Hard pass. I'll never do that
Wait,
again.
can you go back?
Ba, 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 ba. If you had to eat your way out of a room, what food would you want the room to be made of? Asks Maddie. Sarah's is mashed potatoes.
I fucking love mashed potatoes.
My instinct is to like puzzle this out and try and think of like what's the thinnest material, like carpaccio or
Oh, I
like
see.
rice noodles.
What do you want to eat your way out of? I think is the question.
Peanut
What's
butter
your
cookies. Simone asks, where are the favorite places you've traveled? Where's a bucket list location y'all haven't been to yet? Is it all about food when you travel, or what do you guys like to do? I love going grocery shopping while traveling and browsing through all the aisles. I love that as well. Favorite place you've traveled, Sarah?
We didn't get to go on a honeymoon until like 5 years after we had gotten married because we just couldn't afford it and we were like busy working and just didn't take the time to do it.
Mhm.
So 5 years after we were married, we went on our honeymoon and we got to go to Italy and France.
Rome, Venice, and Paris.
Yes. And I think Rome was really fun. I didn't like Venice at all.
Yeah, Rome was my
Like
favorite
I
of
could
those.
definitely have gone without Rome or Venice, but
Mhm.
Rome I really had a good time with.
We stayed in Trastevere, which is like I don't know, the area we were staying in was like a bunch of like back alleys, and like the
Yeah.
restaurants are in every corner. That was really fun.
hmm
Need help?
Oh, it's so fucking hot. I think I got it. I think I got it.
This is not going well.
Okay. Oh god, that oven is so hot. Oh.
I'm gonna throw the jalapenos and green onions on with it just so they get like seared a little bit. And I just made the Caesar dressing. Okay, my favorite cities. Tokyo is a special place in my heart, not because of like, you know, the weeb shit, but like I went there when I was kind of at like my lowest mental point after selling my company the first time. Well, the only company I've ever sold. I sold a community platform to a company called GitHub. That's when I started Coldplay was or Kitchenomicon was I needed like something to do then. But I had such a bad like year and a half trying to fundraise for it. People didn't want to do it because we weren't going to put ads on it. I was just like failing consecutively for like a year and a half. I felt like I was a bad teammate because I wasn't as productive as my teammates. I just like was really struggling. And then I went to Tokyo on a whim. And then last second, my co-founder decided to join me. Like we just got away for a minute, and like I have such fond memories of that time. So Tokyo is way up there for me. But then I think my favorite vacation ever was when we went to Nagano, snowboarding in Japan. That was so fun, but Sarah got sick, so she didn't get to try any of the food. Like she couldn't taste anything.
Yeah, it wasn't COVID, but I couldn't taste anything, so I was pretty miserable.
We don't actually like the mechanics of traveling. Like the
that's
process of
thing.
traveling sucks.
I always get sick when I travel. I don't like being on a plane. I have like traveler's tummy, so I either have to take a dump right away when I land, or I can't shit for like 5 days.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun.
Um,
And it doesn't matter how close it is. It could be a 3-hour flight, same situation.
yeah.
I think it's
As soon as you're up in
elevation.
the air, you're like,
Yeah.
and
My body's like,
done.
wow, what have you done to us?
I don't have that issue, but like I'm too tall for most plane seats, so I have to pay more.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I don't enjoy the flight for sure. Like I don't mind driving places, but I mean that only gets you so far. I'll put up with it for the food, but yeah, it's really all about food when we travel.
Yeah.
There's occasionally like something like snowboarding that like some friends want to go do, but if it's just us traveling, we're going for food. Jonas asks, how do you manage recipes that require large batches? One or two people cannot possibly eat without eating the same thing for a week. I'm thinking of cakes or festive braises. Well, there are outliers here. Our kimchi raikkonen recipe, when we are like
Really busy.
when we're really busy, we'll make a giant batch of it and we'll eat that for every meal for a week, no problem. It's the one dish that never gets old for me. I'm happy to eat it forever.
Like, because it gets better as it sits too.
It's spicy, it's acidic, it's salty, like
it's all the things.
filling, it's comforting, everything hits. But anything else, we typically take them to friends.
Yeah. If we have a ton of leftovers and we know there's no possible way we're going to get through it, we could freeze it for later. That's an option. Or we give it away to friends and neighbors. And
especially for like baked goods.
Yeah, baked goods go so well.
We get like these pink 9x9-inch boxes, and take like boxes of cookies and surprise people, or like a whole cake or whatever. And even if it's like not the best, people are so grateful for it. So it's hard not to enjoy that.
How bad could cake be? Unless it's really truly bad.
Yeah,
but
then we'll throw it away.
Most of the time, it's not that bad.
Are there plans to try stuff for CF that are out of your comfort zones? Plans, maybe not. Designs, definitely yes. Like ideas.
We have a lot of ideas for it, but I don't know if any of them are actually going to come to fruition.
The interesting thing about comfort zones, though, is just like my family was like a lot of like general contractors and stuff. They would just like, instead of things that you'd usually pay like a crew to build, they would just do it themselves. And so I learned that from an early age, like you can kind of just do anything. So nothing really feels out of our comfort zones. It's like,
Okay,
okay,
love
I don't know
this.
how to start this sometimes, but it's not like, hey, this is going to be uncomfortable to figure out, because it's always fun to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
So that scrappiness is like something I really value.
Yeah, you're real scrappy.
Hmm.
Okay, so we need to slurp on our sauce.
Pepperoni, Fresno chili, and onion. And then the other one is going to be one of our favorite combos, which is fennel sausage and lemon. I've always been a jump in, start figuring things out, start talking kind of person. Like you'll figure it out as you talk, which Sarah hates.
I'm like I have to prep beforehand. But it's the same with grocery shopping too.
She hates it when I
Like
do it too.
I can't just go to a grocery store and find stuff and be like, "Yeah, this is what we're doing for dinner." I have to be like, "Okay, very specifically,
This is my
this
plan.
is what we're making for dinner. This is where I need to go. This is what I need to get." Sometimes I'll call ahead if I don't know if a place is going to have a
Like a
thing.
reasonable, smart human, I'll go there. I'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
and then he'll text me and be like, "Hey, do you think I can find this thing here?" And I'll be like, "Let me Google that for you." A little bit of this,
Yep. So our favorites usually pepperoni, jalapeno, and red onion, but they didn't have good jalapenos today.
some lemon.
Yep. This is the ingredient that always surprises people how good it is, because it slightly caramelizes, and it's not super bitter or anything, but there's like a little pop of brightness. It's great. And then the fennel sausage goes really well with it. How much meat are you looking for?
All the meat. Is that it? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And then we gotta pop these back in the oven.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you ever feel too lazy to cook? And if so, what's your go-to meal that isn't takeout from Allison? And one more, do you do any home ferments? Stir fries is the answer,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so fast.
Stir
And
fry is easy.
if I see something coming where I know we're not going to be motivated, I'll start rice the night before so that we're prepped.
You have to think ahead for this one, but one of my favorite things, I think one of our
Mhm.
favorite things to do is if you can get like 3 pounds of pork shoulder. We get pork in bulk and
And
then we
freeze
just
it.
keep it in the freezer.
Mhm.
Um,
Pork shoulder specifically.
but 3 pounds of pork shoulder, you can just toss that into like a 9 by 13 pan, cover it with brown sugar and salt, and then just toss it in the oven at like what, 400, no,
I go low, like
lower,
300.
300. But you have to do it for like 4 to 6 hours.
It's best at like 8 or 10.
Yeah. But as long as it can go, just like
Mhm.
toss it in the oven, set it and forget it.
Maybe a
Have
little
your
water
rice
to
cooked.
prevent burning,
Yeah.
but nothing crazy.
Baste it every once in a
Mhm.
while when you think about it.
You end up with this like super syrupy, like salty sauce, and you like end up building a crust with that, and
Yeah.
it's
But you throw that on top of rice with a little scallion oil, or you like make salad cups out of it with the rice. We use butter lettuce.
posam is the dish specifically, which are Korean wraps. Sam means wrap.
Usually, if I know that I'm gonna be lazy that day, or I
Mm.
know that I'm not gonna have a lot of energy to do stuff, I'll try to do that.
It's a great day ahead thing too, like
Yeah.
bypass the issue.
Yep.
There's a question about meal prepping, which we don't really do, but if we know that we're going to be just like very busy one week, then we'll go all in on like one dish and not really worry about it.
Yeah.
Home ferments, Sarah.
Oh,
We've done a lot of home
oh
ferments.
man. We've done sake, we've done beer, we've done vinegar.
Vinegar is
Um,
one of my favorites to do. It's so
we've
easy.
done a bunch of pickles.
Hmm.
Tried and failed to do cucumber pickles so many times. Kimchi's, koji
Swansai. Yep.
for
So
sake.
koji for the sake, but also for shiokoji.
Yep.
Soy sauce.
What
We
am I
tried
forgetting?
doing, we didn't really succeed at that,
Oh yeah, we didn't succeed with soy sauce, but
but that's another use for the koji.
we've been down some really fun fermentation
Mhm.
rabbit holes.
That is watery. How do you think about meals having different types of proteins for the same dish? I'm a vegetarian and he isn't. I want to make a meal plan around cooking the same meal, but cook 2 different types of proteins. We like everything. I just don't eat animals. Fake meat, baby.
Yeah, fake meat's
So many
great.
of our favorite dishes work well with fake meat. Mapo tofu is one that stands out to me. I think that works really well. And then,
There's another Chinese recipe, 3 cup chicken is
yeah.
the meat version of it. That's really good. But there's
Mhm.
also a really easy alternative with like eggplant.
You can just cook down eggplant until it's soft and then do
Yeah.
the same thing to it.
Mhm.
That actually works really well with adobo as well. Adobo and 3 cup have very similar like properties to them, and they're really easy to work with that way.
Yeah.
Tofu
That's
is great there.
yeah, that's how I would think about it
Mhm.
probably.
So really the answer is like a very saucy braise that you can like
Kind of
break
split
apart.
up.
Yeah.
Like so one can go, you get as
Mhm.
far as you can, and then as soon as you need to add the meats or whatever.
Or just double the sauce into separate pans or
Right.
whatever.
Black bean tacos. You could do one version that's just the black beans. I love a good black bean taco.
We had black bean tacos for
Mm.
lunch today.
You could do one that's just black beans, another one that has like black beans and chicken or something.
Like a
So it's
chicken
like,
tinga, super easy
yeah.
with like just the sauce from a can of Chipotle's.
Mhm.
Tend to engage in 3 types of cooking. The first is meal prep, where I can just turn off my brain, knock it out, and end up with consistent results. Okay, I see. That's slightly different. So like the classics, the faves, the ones you know well. Second is experimental, where I'm trying new recipes and unfamiliar techniques. This tends to be the most mentally taxing and yields fairly unpredictable results. The third is iterative cooking, where over the course of a few weeks, I'll make the same recipe a number of times as I try to hone very specific attributes of a dish. I'm new to the channel, and most of the videos I've watched appear to be of the experimental variety. I'm curious if you do any meal prep or iterative style cooking, and if so, what are some examples? Iterative is, I mean, that's just the process of developing recipes, which we do a lot, especially over a long period of time, because we want to make sure it really works and we're just like losing our minds. As for experimental, I mean, that's very much what the cookbook reviews are. We should never have made that before. Sometimes we're more comfortable with it than others. But yeah, anything iterative really turns into recipes. That's the goal. And that's why the recipe editor on our site is the way it is. It's like meant to be like notes that we're taking as we go. But as for meal prep, I don't know. We don't do classics too often unless we're like super, super busy, which, like I said, we work long hours, but also, I mean, this is what we do to like unwind from a lot of things. So historically, especially when I was working a job, I would come home and like cook something brand new just because I was like, I just want to have a nice time doing something for me.
Fry. Get off.
All right, I'm going to chill this salad for a little bit because I think it'll be best cold. All right, take a little break for a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Little undercooked on the very edges, I think.
Yeah.
But that's about it. All right, that one's yours. That one's mine.
Ha!
Definitely cooked on the bottom.
Yeah.
It's also not as tall as I remember.
Yeah, I think something happened with the dough while I was mixing it together, honestly. I can't figure out what it was, but I think I just got distracted talking
Yeah.
while I was measuring stuff. So I'm sorry. I apologize for that. It is usually a little bit thicker than this. I think we probably could have let it raise a little bit longer too, but honestly, we were really impatient. It still tastes good though.
It just didn't rise. I think it's just like a lack of
It's the
yeast.
dough, for sure. So I forgot to warm the water too. I think that might have affected it a bit. It's still freaking good.
Yeah.
Even if the dough didn't rise as much as I was expecting it to.
I am not mad. You know what? I'm not even going to get a bowl dirty. We'll just eat it off the tray. Pretty much every time we order pizza, we get Caesar salad with it. So I was very excited to try this. All right, so this is just a basic Caesar dressing with esquites. Two of my favorite Mexican salads in one. Because if you didn't know, Caesar salad's from Mexico. Tijuana, specifically. May need salt.
Mm.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Mm. I think if we actually made this with grilled chicken and like a more substantial lettuce, this would hit. It's really good like this, but
The idea works. It was a good idea to chill it. Very hard to keep it on a fork. Very hard to keep it in my mouth. That works.
it says it on the side, warm water, but it doesn't say it in the actual instruction. So I think I
That's
need to
horrendous.
add warm water there to prevent my own errors.
What I really need to do is make it so that you just write them in the steps, and then it automatically generates the other side. That's a little bit more work than it might seem, but it's possible.
I should probably also note what I mean when I say warm water too, like 90 degrees. Between 90 and 100.
This is a good idea. Needs a little more work as well, but we're close. More time before we go. We've got bags coming. We've got aprons coming. We really appreciate your help so far. We're probably going to do like a subathon thing where we have some like guests on like next month. So we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like because we do need more subscriptions We really appreciate all that you guys have been doing so far, but we got a little bit further to go. And then, yeah, getting after it. We've got so much more we want to do. We just need resources to do it. So.
Yeah. The pizza recipe is on cultflave.com. If you make it, just warm the water. Give it time to rise. Don't get impatient like me. All right. Thank you all for joining us.
We'll see you next
Sunday.
Monday?
Next Sunday, Monday.
I get it wrong every time.